war in Ukraine is escalating. A few days ago, Joe Biden gave Zelensky a parting gift. He allowed Ukraine to use long-range weapons against Russia. Now Moscow is retaliating in kind.
In response to the use of American and British long-range weapons, on November 21st of this year, the Russian armed forces launched a combined attack on one of the facilities of the Ukrainian defense industry complex.
This is the attack Putin was talking about. These pictures are from last night. Moscow launched a hypersonic missile attack on Dnipro city in Ukraine. Just look at this. Those bright, powerful flashes of light coming down from the sky. Now, these are missiles hitting Ukraine. There were no significant casualties, but the damage on the ground appears to be extensive. What kind of weapon did Russia use on Ukraine? This missile, it was an IRBM. Now, that stands for Intermediate Range Ballistic Missile. They can travel up to 5,500 kilometers. These are large missiles. They can fly far and high. They are faster than the speed of sound. Now, this makes them very difficult to intercept. Russia deployed a new missile yesterday, something they haven't used before. It's called the Oreshnik, which means the hazel. This is an experimental weapon. Russia doesn't have many of these in its arsenal. They can carry multiple warheads, including nuclear ones. Thankfully, no nuclear warheads were used last night. But will that be the case in the future? That possibility cannot be dismissed. Vladimir Putin has issued a fresh warning to the West.
In the event of an escalation of aggressive actions, we will respond just as decisively and symmetrically. I recommend that the ruling elites of those countries that are hatching plans to use their military contingents against Russia seriously think about this.
Ukraine and Russia have been at war for 1,000 days now. There have been some rumblings of a potential truce. However, both Kyiv and Moscow are nowhere close to coming to the table. The fighting remains as intense as ever. In fact, it's getting worse. This conflict is now entering a new phase, missile warfare. Ukraine's president has spoken out. He says Russia's attack was a clear and severe escalation.
Today, our crazy neighbor once again showed what he really is and how he despises dignity, freedom, and human life in general, and how afraid he is.
What about the United States? Interestingly, before Russia launched yesterday's attack, they had informed Washington in advance.
The United States was pre-notified briefly before the launch through nuclear risk reduction channels.
What does this disclosure tell you? Putin is setting boundaries for the West. He is giving a clear message: stay out of Ukraine. Don't let Kyiv use Western missiles to attack Russia. That's exactly what Ukraine did this week. They struck Russian military assets deep inside Russia. Western missiles were used for this mission, like the Atacms from America and the Storm Shadow missile, which is made by the British and French. These can hit targets from a distance. Putin has responded to this by raising the stakes. He is bringing more lethal weapons to the battlefield. Yesterday's attack was a demonstration. Russia is signaling its readiness. It is willing to use long-range weapons, even missiles which can carry nuclear warheads. Kyiv is defenseless against them. It doesn't have any radars to detect an attack like this, nor does it have any air defense systems which can shoot down these missiles. Kyiv is now asking its allies for these capabilities.
In detail, we are talking about strengthening the air defense shield over Ukraine to provide Ukraine with systems that are able to intercept such types of missiles. These systems exist over the world, and thus, it's time to hand them over to Ukraine.
So the ball is back in the West's court. Will it allow Ukraine to continue striking deep inside Russia? How far is it willing to go? Would it risk nuclear escalation from Putin's Russia? And how much support can the West realistically provide? More importantly, how long can Kyiv rely on Washington? Joe Biden has been Ukraine's strongest military backer. His successor, Donald Trump, appears eager to end this support. Biden's last-minute shift on long-range weapons gave the Ukrainian forces a boost, but the optimism has faded quickly. Ukraine is now confronting its limitations again. As the conflict becomes more chaotic, this war is entering a dangerous phase.